Welcome to Mindset Capital TV, where mindset meets money. This channel is built for thinkers, builders, and future leaders who understand that wealth starts in the mind. If you're ready to level up your thinking, your habits, and your income, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Why financial freedom is mostly mental. A money and wealth thinking documentary. The illusion of freedom. Some people earn a lot of money and still feel trapped. Others earn far less and feel strangely free. They don't check their phone every 5 minutes. They don't panic at unexpected expenses. They don't feel behind even when progress is slow. This doesn't make sense, at least not on paper, because we're taught something very specific about freedom. More money equals more freedom. But reality keeps contradicting that idea. People with high incomes still feel anxious. People with savings still feel pressure. People with assets still feel stuck. So the question becomes uncomfortable. What if financial freedom isn't primarily financial at all? What if the reason most people never feel free, even when they should, has very little to do with numbers, and almost everything to do with how the mind experiences money? This documentary is not about earning more. It's about understanding why freedom is a mental state long before it's a financial one. Once you see it, you'll realize why so many people escape poverty, but never escape financial stress. Why most people misunderstand financial freedom. Most people define financial freedom as a destination, a number, a milestone, a finish line. I'll be free when I make this much. I'll relax once I hit that goal. I'll feel secure when I reach that level. But freedom doesn't arrive that way, because the mind doesn't experience freedom through income. It experiences freedom through control, certainty, and emotional safety. This is why some people double their income and feel no relief. Some people pay off debt and still feel anxious. Some people reach goals and immediately set new ones, without peace. The number changes. The nervous system doesn't. Self-made individuals eventually discover a quiet truth. Financial freedom isn't the absence of work. It's the absence of financial fear. Fear of running out. Fear of falling behind. Fear of losing control. Until those fears are addressed psychologically, no amount of money will feel like enough. The invisible mental cage that money can't fix. There is a mental cage most people never notice. It isn't built from debt. It isn't built from bills. It isn't even built from income limitations. It's built from how the brain was trained to think about money. If your mind learned early that money disappears quickly, security is fragile, mistakes are catastrophic, then your nervous system stays on alert. Even when circumstances improve, you might earn more, but your brain still scans for danger. You might save more, but your mind still expects loss. This is why people say, I should feel more secure than this. That word, should, is the giveaway. Freedom doesn't respond to logic. It responds to felt safety. And felt safety is psychological. Self-made individuals don't just build income. They retrain their relationship with uncertainty. They stop treating money as a verdict on their survival. And that changes everything. The emotional relationship with money that decides everything. Long before money became practical, it became emotional. For most people, money was introduced through stress, arguments, silence, or fear. Bills whispered through walls. Conversations stopped when kids entered the room. Tension rose whenever money was mentioned. The mind learns quickly. Money equals danger. Money equals conflict. Money equals instability. That emotional imprint doesn't disappear with age. It follows people into adulthood. This is why some people overspend when anxious. Some hoard money and still feel unsafe. Some avoid looking at their finances altogether. Money becomes a trigger, not a tool. Self-made individuals don't ignore this relationship. They redefine it. They stop asking, do I have enough? And start asking, how do I feel when I think about money? Because the feeling, not the number, decides behavior. Why freedom requires emotional safety, not just savings. Most people believe savings create freedom. They help. But they're not the deciding factor. Because freedom doesn't come from having money. It comes from trusting yourself to handle uncertainty. Someone with a large savings account, but no emotional safety, still feels trapped. Someone with modest resources, but strong emotional regulation, often feels free. This is the paradox. Emotional safety means you don't panic at surprises. You don't spiral after mistakes. You don't tie self-worth to balance. Self-made individuals cultivate this deliberately. They don't ask money to make them feel safe. They build safety internally, then let money support it. That's why freedom arrives earlier for them, not after the goal, but during the process. How self-made individuals train their minds for freedom. Mental freedom doesn't appear after success. It's trained before it. Self-made individuals don't wait for fear to disappear. They practice functioning while fear is present. Not recklessly, gradually. They expose themselves to manageable uncertainty. Small financial experiments. Delayed gratification. Decisions without immediate reassurance. Each exposure teaches the nervous system a lesson. I can tolerate this. I don't need certainty to move. I recover faster than I thought. This is how the mind learns safety. Not through thinking, through experience. Over time, the alarm system quiets. Urgency fades. Decision quality improves. Freedom starts to feel normal, assumed. Why financial freedom disappears under pressure. Freedom collapses under pressure. Not because it was fake, but because it wasn't stabilized. When stress spikes, old patterns return. Scarcity thoughts reappear. Control tightens. This is why people say, I was doing well, then everything fell apart. Nothing fell apart. Pressure simply revealed what wasn't yet solid. Self-made individuals expect this. They don't judge themselves when fear returns. They slow down. They reduce decisions. They protect routines. They return to basics. Because they understand. Freedom isn't the absence of pressure. It's the ability to stay regulated inside it. The daily mental habits of financially free people. Financially free people don't feel rushed. Not because life is easy, but because their minds aren't constantly negotiating survival. Their days share quiet patterns. They limit how often they think about money. They make decisions at planned times, not emotional ones. They review, then move on. Money doesn't interrupt their focus. It has a place and a time. They also protect their attention. They avoid noise that creates false urgency. They don't react to every opportunity. They don't confuse motion with progress. Most importantly, they don't ask money to regulate emotion. When stress appears, they pause. When uncertainty appears, they slow down. When fear appears, they acknowledge it, without obeying it. This is what freedom looks like on an ordinary day. Not luxury, not escape, just mental space. Clarity beats urgency. Why most people can't feel free even when they are. Many people reach what they thought was freedom and feel nothing. Or worse, they feel more pressure than before. This happens when freedom is defined externally. New income brings expectations. New assets bring responsibility. New status brings fear of loss. The mind tightens. This is the golden cage effect. Externally, everything looks open. Internally, the rules multiply. Self-made individuals notice this early. They decouple freedom from lifestyle. They avoid tying identity to numbers. They protect the inner state first. The psychological shift that ends financial fear. Financial fear doesn't end when risk disappears. It ends when avoidance does. Most people spend years trying to eliminate uncertainty. More income, more savings, more guarantees. But fear isn't afraid of risk. It's afraid of not knowing how you'll respond. The moment that changes, fear loses its leverage. Self-made individuals make a quiet shift. They stop asking, what if something goes wrong? And start asking, How would I respond if it did? This reframing restores agency. You're no longer bracing for impact. You're preparing for response. And once your mind trusts your ability to respond, uncertainty stops feeling like danger. It becomes information. That's when freedom stabilizes. Why time horizon determines how free you feel. Freedom expands as time horizon lengthens. When your mind lives in days or weeks, everything feels urgent. Bills loom. Mistakes feel permanent. Progress feels slow. But when your mind stretches into years, pressure dissolves. Self-made individuals think long. They measure progress in seasons. They evaluate outcomes in cycles. They expect setbacks without panic. This longer horizon absorbs volatility. It turns noise into background. It turns patience into power. This is why people with long-term thinking feel calmer even during uncertainty. They aren't free because everything is stable. They're free because time is on their side. Why financial freedom looks boring from the outside. From the outside, real financial freedom doesn't look impressive. There's no rush, no constant upgrades, no dramatic wins. Days look repetitive. Routines look ordinary. Spending looks restrained. This confuses people because we're taught that freedom should look exciting. But excitement is often a sign of instability. Self-made individuals don't optimize for stimulation. They optimize for continuity. Their systems run quietly. Their finances don't demand attention. Their decisions don't require emotional energy. This is why their lives appear uneventful. Nothing is constantly breaking. Nothing is urgently demanding action. Nothing feels like it's slipping away. Freedom isn't loud. It's when nothing is pulling you out of focus. The role of identity in feeling financially free. Freedom isn't just about what you have. It's about who you believe you are. If your identity is tied to hustling, proving, impressing, escaping, then freedom will always feel temporary. Because the mind will recreate pressure to protect identity. Self-made individuals eventually let go of performance identity. They stop seeing themselves as someone trying to make it, someone who must stay ahead, someone who can't slow down. They adopt a quieter identity. I am capable of handling uncertainty. That identity doesn't require constant validation. It allows rest. It allows patience. It allows mistakes. And once identity shifts, freedom stops depending on outcomes. The one mental rule that preserves freedom long-term. There is one mental rule that keeps financial freedom intact over decades. Not a strategy, not a budget, not an income target. A rule. Never sacrifice mental calm for short-term gain. Every time this rule is broken, freedom erodes. More income with more pressure. More assets with more anxiety. More opportunities with less peace. Self-made individuals are ruthless about this rule. They walk away from deals that compress time, opportunities that add urgency, income that demands constant vigilance. They choose margin instead. Margin in time, margin in money, margin in attention. Because margin is what absorbs life. Without margin, every surprise becomes a crisis. With margin, nothing feels fatal. This is why their freedom lasts. Not because they avoided risk, but because they protected calm. Why you were never behind, just misguided. Many people carry a silent belief. I'm behind. Behind peers. Behind expectations. Behind where they should be. But most weren't behind. They were simply chasing the wrong definition of freedom. They pursued numbers instead of nervous system safety, status instead of margin, speed instead of stability. Once that misunderstanding is corrected, something powerful happens. Shame dissolves. Urgency loosens. Patience returns. You stop racing imaginary deadlines. You stop measuring yourself against noise. And for the first time, your timeline feels like your own. Freedom begins there, not at the finish line, but at the moment pressure stops driving decisions. What life feels like after the pressure is gone. When financial freedom becomes internal. Life doesn't suddenly explode into excitement. It softens. Mornings feel slower. Decisions feel lighter. Silence feels comfortable instead of empty. You stop calculating every outcome. You stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You stop living 5 steps ahead of yourself. Money no longer narrates your thoughts. It becomes background. And in that quiet, something unexpected happens. You regain presence. You notice how you spend your time. You notice how you feel before you act. You notice when fear tries to rush you, and you don't obey it. Freedom isn't the ability to do anything you want. It's the ability to not react, to wait, to choose, to let things unfold without panic. This is why financially free people often seem calm, almost detached. They're not detached from life. They're detached from pressure. And once pressure is gone, clarity becomes natural. If this video shifted your mindset, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Remember, your mindset is your greatest asset. Protect it, build it, invest in it. This is Mindset Capital TV. We'll see you in the next one.